Hi, my name is Simon, and I'm a software engineer, cybersecurity professional. But in this video, we are doing one of the most basic tasks or basic things we've ever done, and we are learning about text editors. And this specific one is Microsoft Word. And maybe you might ask me why Microsoft Word. So Microsoft Word is the common industry standard software that is used to edit is used as a text editor to write documents. There are softwares that work as Microsoft Word, but this is the most recognized software that is easier to use and understand. We have the Libre software, the Libre Open Office Writer, and all those other softwares that are out there. But in this specific video, we are learning about Microsoft Word. So stay tuned. I'll ensure to explain to explain those detailed information. I want to create a video that is less than 30 minutes. So what are we really doing in this video? So in this video, I'm assuming that you are a total beginner, and I'll be going through the basics of it randomly, but ensuring I cover the most essential parts of it or of learning. Right here, when you open your software, I'm believing that you have information or you do know how to work around with computers, because that's a different topic. And to create a document, you just start with a blank document. So you double click on it, you double left click, and here you are given a this is a blank white document, and up here we have a list of menus with so much information, something we are going to get through before this video ends. And come back here. So the first part is file, and when you click on file, it enables you to do the following options. You can open a new document, you can open an existing document, you can save. You can save as. The difference between save and save as is that save as allows you to decide the location and the extension of what you want it to exist. A print is where you connected onto a printer and you want to print whatever you have typed. Share has an option of things you can do with it. You have export. Here is when you can now put out a one document like a PDF, and close is definitely closing. So we just click on that arrow and come back here. Right here we have home. Home has a list of menus and several things to be done. We have insert, and under insert you can see have tables, pictures, shapes, smart art, charts, screenshots, to have hyperlinks, online videos and stuff. Have header, footer, page number, text box, words, word art, and several. We have under the design, you can see you have different designs. You have things like colors, paragraph spacing, effects, and you can see we have things like a watermark, color page. And what a watermark does is just maybe you have done your research and you've typed your document, and maybe you think somebody can copyright or can steal your document by either taking a picture or printing it. You just add your watermark. Have the page color. You can decide the color of what your page or how your page, the color of which your page should appear. Have things like the borders, and we have the layout. Under the layout you have things like breaks, line numbers, margins, orientation. Under orientation we have a portrait and landscape, depending on what you're printing. Under the size you can also see have the letter, tabloid, legal, settlement, executive, A3, A4, A5. These are just a type of documents we do have. We have columns, have breaks. Under the references you can add text, you can update a table. A good example is a table of contents. You can update it, insert a note, add a footnote. All these have things to do with mailing. Have review, then we have view. Under here you can see the print layout and much more. So what am I going to do? I'm going to start a small composition just explaining about a cat. And what does a simple composition start with? It starts with a title, and under more circumstances, titles are underlined. So using this software, as you do realize that we have shortcuts. The first shortcut here, we want to create a bold statement. So because we are talking about the cat, our title will be the cat. So I will type the cut, but my preference is that everything appears in capital letters. So it's the cut. Yeah, so this is the cut. What I'm doing is called highlighting. So with highlighting, you can just left click the mouse button from here at a blank space, then hover back. But somebody will ask, maybe if our title was the cat stubborn, maybe that cat's name is stubborn, right? With space, and you only want to select this one. So you left click at the space, hover from here to here, you can select the specific thing. And under here, once you select, you can see there's a small menu that comes, but alternatively, that menu can be accessed from here. So here we have B, which is bold. This I, italic. We have U with an I behind this underline. And we have this called strike through, where you can strike through, maybe you've cancelled something. We have subscript and superscript. We have different things, and we also have types of fonts and several. Yeah, and right there, so we create the title. So I think calling it the cat stubborn will just be fine. So I'll underline the whole of it, and then I'll put it under bold, but I'll increase the font size so that it appears. So the cat stubborn, and you can realize that this title needs to be centered. There are several ways to this, I know too. But decide you will space it toward this point, but you realize the underline will be moving with it. So what should I do? So I'll just select the whole of this. You can see here that we have a way paragraphs are written. So I'll just select the center. It centers this one. That's on the first line. So to move on the second line, you just press enter. But you realize that the orientation we took while creating this title is still existing. So what shall you do? You now come click back here so that it starts from here. And then you undo the bold and the underline. Then you return the font size to a font of your liking, but should not be big as this one. So the cut, and also to ensure that you use capital letters where they are needed, and use small case letters where they are needed. So the cut, I would like to include the C. The cut, stubborn. Stubborn is a name. Is a Siamese cat. And with with many origins. This is just an imaginary statement and does not represent any fact per se. Has many origins, and these are the origins. These are the origins. So with that, I'll use a full color, but because whatever is coming next, I want to list it. There are several ways. I can use bullets. I can use the numbering, and we have this one is called a multi-level list, whereby the list goes while it gets inside. I'll just use numbers. So from there, let me just use. I'll not leave my country out. My country Kenya. I'll use the USA. Why not USA? So the USA. The USA. And then why not Russia? Russia. For China. And the last one, I'll just say the rest of the world. So as to include all nations. Okay, rest of the world. Alright, and now you realize that as I press enter on the next line, I still have the numbering in existence. So what you can equally do, from that new line, I just disable the numbering, so that you can continue with our normal way of typing. And can we just continue with the statement? This card looks good, beautiful with a comma. Okay, beautiful. And this software comes in with an inbuilt autocorrect. So let me type beautiful in a wrong way, and you realize there's an underline to that. So the software has some sort of intelligence that it can correct your statement if you've typed them wrong. So that underline, you just right click, and it has no spelling suggestions, but it's telling us that the statement is wrong. So let me try to type it this way. Beautiful. You see it has the correction, and you can see it's beautiful and adorable, right? Adorable. But since these words, I want them to be highlighted or to be seen in this statement, well, I can choose to add a color to this. So we can say that these statements, we are going to put them in a color red, so that it just looks distinct or different using color red. So for the color, once you highlight the statement, you come here, you just you click it down, you select the color you wish to have. Even I can decide that adorable is in green. And you see this underline here, it's just showing us that the comma has been placed at a wrong position. So the beautiful, I also give it a different distinct color. Let me give it blue, so that you see this really looks different from any other statement, or it captivates the eye while you're looking at it. And now we'll just go to the next step. The fierce. So you remember, anytime after finishing, you see the last time I finished on adorable was in color green. So if I press enter and start a new paragraph, it will start in color green. So and show every time you disable that. So there are so many ways to do that. The first one is click on that. The next one is you start a new line and make sure you check out the color so that you can continue. And I can just say they are fierce. They are fierce. And most dangerous cats in the wild. And let me type wild in with a typo. You realize it gives me that line. I right click, I get the right spellings of wild, I continue. So I want to make this statement also appear, but in a different way. There's something called italics. Italics is where letters appear like they are slanting. So I introduced the italics, and you can see with the italics it's slanting. And you can also apply several edits. So I can have this statement in italics, I can have it also underlined, and I can have it bold. But under the underline, you can see that we have different types of lines. So I can decide to use this line, and these are different types of lines. Actually, using this software is quite easy, and we'll move to the next step. So here from home, you can see that we've used some of these important characters, and maybe just to use this is to increase the font size. The font size, let me say like T. If I start clicking here, you can see I'm increasing the font size of that letter T, and here to reduce it, you can see it's becoming smaller than the normal ones, right? Bring it back to its original position, and we come to the insert table. So the insert table allows us to insert our pictures. Okay, blank page, you can insert a blank page, inside page break, a table, pictures, online pictures, shapes, smart art, and these smart arts are inbuilt into the software, the Word software. And we have charts, and these charts you can create them. We have column charts, pie charts, bar charts, area, scatter chart, stock, surface, radar, pre-map, sunburst, histogram, fox and whisker, waterfall, combo. There are several. Yes, and here we have the store. So I want to go to that. Have the header, the footer, page numbers. Sometimes the page numbers are essential, and if I just click here, it asks me where I want the page numbers to be, and with various variations. You can see the top. You can want it to be on the top page, and there are several variations to that, right? And have the text box. You can add a text box, but it's in different variations. An example is you can add this as a text box and edit information, but because that's not what we intended to do, I'll just control Z. And yes, what we'll do, I want us to go online, or just ensure you have a pre-downloaded image of a cat, and I'll find a CMS cat, or you can use any image of your preference. This is just learning video. It's here to enable you to learn and understand in the most simplest way. And I'll just download that image to my downloads. So anytime we'll be moving, I'll get to my downloads. So I've named it CMS. And right there, we're in the insert. We're here on the insert. So first thing you're doing is you're inserting a picture. And you can see that it inserts where the cursor is at. So ensure your cursor is at the place you want the picture to be inserted. And I'll explain that. So under the downloads, you can see you have the CMS card. It's added, and you can see it comes with some few features where you can expand it. Maybe you want it to fit more on this page. And what I've talked about is the cursor. So the cursor is this blinking object. That's where you are at. That's where when you type, it starts the statement there. So ensure it's at the point you want it to be. And that's it. You see it's below here under the image, and so it comes here. Yeah, so that's under the insert table. We have the table. You can decide that you're creating a table, you can see, and maybe for that table, let's create a table with 5 columns, 4 rows, or we can create it with 2 rows, 5 columns. There we are, there 5. Because of the spacing, it moves up to the next page. So under here we can edit and just type the CMS, and you can see there are several variations of these tables, ones with trails, and you can also edit the shading. The shading is the color in behind. Maybe you want to be creative with what you're doing, so you can decide you put in some shading. So you just click here, you pick one, and this menu, the menu design appears once. Let me show you. We were here at the insert. If I click on this table right here, how is it? If I just click on this table, I go to the design panel, and once I click here, it just prompts me to do the editing. But I would advise that anytime you are doing anything around this, just make sure you finish it first before you move to any other procedure, so that you cannot be deterred with what you're doing. And that's the insert table. So we have the shapes. You can decide that you want to be creative with what you're doing, or maybe we want to create a shape, an arrow shape. Here we are, and you can always increase the size. And you see, once we create the shape, it brings us to the format, and you can change the color inside. We have several colors. You can just come here directly at the shape field, and you select the essential color you want. The outline is the line outside the shape, and if you give it yellow, you realize it disappears. Blue, it comes, and that way. Shape effect, we have these few effects that it can make it look like a 3D image. We have the bevel and all these other several, this perspective. There are so many, and it gives it that look of a 3D feel. and it has various glows. Something you can also consider. We've already interacted with the design, and we come here to the layout. So the orientation, you can decide it becomes landscape, and you can see on landscape this is right part becomes bigger than this is the length, width and length, so it becomes longer. But if you return it into portrait, it changes the orientation. I have the references. These are things that don't matter so much when it comes to writing documents. And we have now the table of contents. You can create a table of content. Starts by applying a heading, style flow, the styles and stuff. So it can't create a table of content here, but for the sake of, for the context of this video, you create a table of content, and once you update features, you just click on the update and it updates the table of contents. The mailings, review, and here we have this, the thesaurus, and let's suggest, okay, this suggests a word, this suggests a word, another way to say what you mean. Let's say you are using a language that you feel it's explosive or it affects the reader, or the reader might not take it well. You can use the thesaurus tool to correct. You have spelling and the grammar text, and you just have it here. You see it's telling me CMS, and here is there any difference here? The difference is this one starts with a small letter and this one starts with a capital letter. So I click on change all, you see it changes it into a capital letter, and I just add it. We have the translate that can also translate a document from one language to another. We have the word count. If I tap on the word count, you can see we have the number of words. If there's no spaces in word, and have the comment, you can add a comment. Things like simple markup, you can start inking, but definitely, or at the end of this, we've finished all you need to know about Word. And some of these things just come, some of them you get to understand them. You have several fonts. These are just variations of how you can write on different handwritings in the most simplest way. Different handwritings. These letters here, this are the sizes of the text. And if I select, let me select Kenya. If I select Kenya and I hover down, you see the size of Kenya increases, right? We have key shortcuts or key combinations. So for something like bold, instead of clicking on bold, I can just do the Control B. Control is written C, CTRL. And for the underline, I can just do the Control U, right? You see it underlined. And for the italics, I just do the Control I. It applies the italics and so on and so forth. So there are several things you can learn there on the internet, but I wanted to make a simple video. Once you get into it, you take the shortest time possible to learn everything and be able to write that statement or to write that document you've been wishing to write. And that's all about the Word. And maybe I'll answer the questions in the comments or any other information you ask. Or maybe we've already looked at the tables. And we have these charts. So these are line charts. And with them, you can feed them information. And let me just have one here. You can see that these charts come with this Excel sheet. We'll be looking at Excel in another video. And you can enter the records. So for this category 1, you can decide, you type, you delete this, and type, let me say I still am from Kenya. So you see it changes here. And the second one, let me just type USA. USA. You see it changes, and if I enter these records or these numbers, it will change how the graph is. Let me just, for the series A, the first Kenya, let me show you how this graph changes. I'll put 7. Once I enter 7, I click You see, it increases up to position 7 and it matches this other shrink because there is a new great value that has been introduced in the series. So that's what happens, and this is more helpful if you're creating a tally or you're doing comparison of figures. And I'll just remove it right here. So, and to delete it, you just click on it and tap on the button delete, or you control Z up to a point it disappears. That's if you've not done much modifications. And you've realized here that we've lost something. We've lost Russia. So what we do, control Z, that's to undo, control Z, control Z, control Z, and now we have Russia here. That's all about Word. It's the simplest thing to learn, and if you've been struggling with Word, just use this simple video to get to learn it.